Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I am your host, Roddy John, and today we speak to John with Yeyo Tequila. We talk all about a story that's 3 generations old, classical music, and their aging process. This is such a fun conversation. Yeyo Tequila is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. I have a bottle, and it's the beautiful frostedness of it. Obviously, we'll get into it in the interview, but it looks great on any shelf, whether you own a bar or you have your own little bar at the house. So definitely pick up some Yeyo Tequila. You can drink it straight. You can make some drinks out of it, but you'll definitely enjoy it. Speaking of things you will enjoy, make sure to sign up for the newsletter. It comes out twice a week. You get even more information about our guests. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast, all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is John with Yeyo Tequila. So have you guys thought about, you said you guys use the same 3 hours of music, of classical music. Have you thought of mixing up the classical music and seeing how well if it does change or not?
We talked about that. We thought of like rock and roll or other things. And basically the master distiller said, he thinks they would upset the tequila. So that's just letting be something that he's deciding on the playlist, and just because he's a lot closer to it. But that's a good question.
Interesting. Okay.
Pick the music, but maybe the vibrations do have a different effect on it. But if it's working well for the last, he's been doing this for now 20 years. I'm just gonna leave the process alone.
I mean, they clearly know what they're doing. So yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Now, have you? You mentioned earlier that you had an interpreter. Have you started to learn Spanish, or is your Spanish any good, or you just kind of leave it up to an interpreter?
So my Spanish has got a little better. My wife has been learning. I've been slowly learning. I still go down with another one of my friends every single visit, for the most part, and he does help with translation. But when I don't go down, we just pass our cell phones back and forth over and over again for a translator. But sometimes I have to do it that way, and then other times I have my friend with me, and he's able to do all of it. And he lives in Mexico, so it's easier for him to meet me. So he's only about a 45-minute airplane flight away from Guadalajara.
Oh, it's not bad then.
Yeah, and we're actually I'm headed down on Wednesday, so just in 2 days, and he'll meet me like an hour after I land, and he's in Vallarta right now. And we're going to be bottling our batch 130 and tasting 30 barrels that have been aging since middle of August for Reposado.
Yeah, so your Reposado is different the way most people do it. You guys age it 10 months in dark rum barrels. How did y'all decide on that?
So we were really trying to do a different profile than what everyone else is doing, and there is no one else doing rum cask. It's just because those barrels are not commonly found in Mexico. So normally, almost every single Jack Daniel barrel or bourbon barrel ends up in Mexico because the rules here, you have to use virgin barrels to age bourbon or whiskey. You can only use it once. And then basically at that point, your barrels are done, even though there's a lot of life left in them. So they end up in Mexico, and they're, easy to access because there's so many barrels for bourbon and whiskey there in Mexico. So now with rum barrels, they're very hard to get because people aren't shipping them down there. And so we wanted to have a different profile, and we thought the rum was not as powerful as like whiskey, so it's not going to be, being like the primary thing you're going to taste and smell when you first taste it. So we took a gamble. We brought down 12 barrels. They're from Colombia, and I had them, or ended up in Colorado I bought them in Colorado, and then I shipped them down to Mexico. And the reason we picked 12 is because I wasn't sure how they were going to turn out, and they could have been just awful, but they did turn out that way. They were amazing. So it was a risk, but it wasn't a huge risk. So yeah, they ended up sitting in the barrels for actually 11.5 months, some of them, because we could only drain 4 barrels at a time, and then submit the barrels to the CRT for approval before we could drain the next 4. So I think the last 4 were about 11 and a half months. You have to wait about a week in between for each one of those submissions. So, yeah, it was, it worked out really, really well. Those barrels too, they were on like the last turn. They had, about 12 years they had rum in them. So they only had one more turn before they had to retire. So we retired those barrels, we cut the heads off, and we sent them back with each one of the pallets, corresponding to the bottles in that barrel to the retailer. So it worked out really, really well.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm drinking the Blanco right now, and I can imagine how great that Reposado is as well.
Yeah, we sold out in, I want to say it was 30 days out of all markets that we sold to. The first liquor store, so how we do it is we sell a barrel to each retailer. So if you want to buy one bottle, you have to buy the whole barrel. So it's, 250 bottles. Our first retailer that got it was in Los Angeles. They sold out in 48 hours. There's people waiting outside the store on Friday before they opened to buy the bottle or buy a case. People were buying up to like a couple cases at a time. And, so it went extremely well, way different than what we thought it was going to go. And, we actually have one guy, he's bought $30,000 worth of repo. He's collected all 12 barrels from different markets, within the country. I know 200 and I can't keep count, but he has 200 something bottles. But, you got, 79 to, with tax and everything, and you're looking at around 30K. But he has that in his private collection. And now that same bottle that was $69, $79 is on the secondary market selling for 100 plus. So because it's limited edition, we only did 3,000 bottles. We get requests almost every single day on, hey, where can I get it? When's the new one coming out? But now we have 28 barrels coming out this time instead of 12. We pre-sold all the barrels in a month without doing any type of advertising. So we were able to get that much retailers' attention to lock in those 28 barrels. So they were already locked in back in June of this year. From June to July, we opened the window, and then the window closed right away. So a lot of the people everyone that bought the barrels this time, they usually bought, two barrels the next time. So yeah, we're looking forward to these new barrels are younger. They're still rum cast barrels. One's single barrel, rum. We just have one type of rum in there for about 5 years. And then the other set of 14 barrels is, they've had 5 different types of rum in there for about 6 years, 5 to 6 years. So we're calling it, the first one is traditional, as in like it's, just a single rum has been in there. And then the other 14 we're calling tropical, because they should have more of a tropical flavor. And then those different barrels will have different seals on the bottles indicating tropical or traditional. They're all handwritten on what bottle it is and what barrel it comes from and who it's bottled for, just like the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So this turn is going to be around 7,650 bottles roughly, depending on evaporation. And they'll all be launched at the same time across California, about 17 barrels. Let's see here, we got North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Arizona. And that basically that's Canada too. Canada's about a barrel as well. So Alberta. So we're pretty excited to get it to more people, and it be interesting how fast this one moves too. And I'm sure the taste profile is going to be amazing. That's what we're doing on Wednesday too. When we're there, we're going to be trying a 14 in one day and then 14 the next day.
I mean, congratulations. That's huge. That not only do you have one person that apparently is a super fan, but also you guys are just selling out, and then you guys are selling by the barrels how much people are loving your the Reposado.
Yeah, and you know, the guy that bought all those Repo bottles, he had never even had the Blanco. He had just heard about he never even bought the Blanco. Yeah, so I actually got to know him a little bit better, and we're actually doing, he doesn't know this, but we're doing a special bottle just for him on this trip. And it actually has his name on it, and it's in a special bottle it's going to be actually with our, we have an experimental barrel we're doing that's, it's an X Spice Apple Cider Barrel. And yeah, so that's something we're not selling. It's just an experiment to see how that barrel turns out. But I'm going to be filling that barrel, and right now the alcohol content's around 88 proof, so it's proofed a little higher. But yeah, we're gonna bottle it up, bring it back for him. Probably have master store and a couple of people sign it. But he'll get that when I get back. So just because he's our biggest single customer.
Lucky him. I bet that's going to be so tasty.
Yeah, and he wants to buy all of the 28 this go around too, but he wants it on a pallet, so he doesn't have to buy it from all the different parts of the country. We're still working out if we're going to do that for him or not. I'm not sure if we can legally do that. Basically collect, maybe 2 cases of each 28 barrels and then have a pallet that's just for him. It would be easier than shipping, but
big time. I'm not asking for names, but does this guy have like a warehouse, or like where does he store all of this stuff? He's asking for a pallet. A pallet's a lot.
Yeah, he's just a big tequila collector. He has a dedicated floor and bottom portion floor of tequila. It's actually I've been learning that's a lot more common than I've actually met 3 other people that are his size of collection level recently, and they're like that. It's almost like they have a liquor store at their house.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But it's their house. They have hundreds and hundreds of bottles, and it's just their private collection. They'll never drink it because it's too much to drink. But yeah, that's there is a few people that I've now got to know that have collections that large.
I ran into somebody recently that they have a large bourbon, and their thing is Crown. So I think they were trying to say they try to collect the crowns from when they were born, and obviously Japanese stuff and different things of that nature. And they showed me their collection. I was like, there's no way you could drink all this. Like, why? Like, I just don't understand, like, how you have so many, but you're not going to drink them.
I think it's just, some people collect things, and, they have disposable income, and, the value, too, with these. Some of the bottles he has in his collection are $5,000 for one bottle because of how old it is. And it's not crazy old. We're talking some of these bottles are maybe 20 years old, but they're so rare. That's how much they're going for. Even without tequila in it, this one bottle is $1,200, just empty. And, it could be one of those things where it's kind of like gold. If you ever have to liquidate, you have something that other people want in the collection, and you could obviously sell it that way. It's not like it's going to go down in value. These things will only go up because people want them.
Yeah, that's true.
And they have a secondary market for people that are buying stuff that you can't get. So